Hello and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and this podcast is being recorded on the land of the Anishinaabe, Odawa, and Mississauga people. It's really important to me that I keep learning about the land that I live on, the First Nations people who cared for it for long before I got here, and the history and culture of my settler and immigrant ancestors. If you are new here and wondering, who is this that I'm listening to? Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm a Canadian yoga teacher, mom, entrepreneur, and forever student who loves to ask questions. And I think that's why podcasting is a good fit for me. I get to talk to amazing people each and every week, ask them questions, and that way we can learn together. And so I'm so grateful that you're in for this learning together. I also work as the founder of Pelvic Health Professionals. This is a place where movement educators, like yoga teachers, and healthcare professionals collaborate and come together to learn the most up-to-date information regarding pelvic health. Visit pelvichealthprofessionals.com if you'd like to join us. Also, because I'm a yoga teacher and I just tend to really lean that way in most conversations, that is a big focus inside of Pelvic Health Professionals. So if you want to see how yoga connects with pelvic health, check out pelvichealthprofessionals.com. Now, this entire podcast, all the way to what are we at today, episode 343, all of these episodes were made for you, the yoga teacher, because I get how it feels. And I wish that almost 20 years ago, I had a resource like this. Even though podcasts, I'm not sure when they were invented. I don't think it existed. But I wish that I had this place where I could connect to other yoga teachers, to ideas and information in this free way where I could listen while I was doing other things. That's where the idea for this podcast came from. And I am so grateful that you're here, whether this is the very first episode that you're listening to, or if you've listened to every single one up to this point. Shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, OfferingTree. I use and love this software in my own business because it automates everything from bookings, payments, Zoom links, reminders, and so much more. And we have a special podcast listener discount code over at offeringtree.com/Shannon. Now, today's podcast episode is a special one. I'm really excited to share it with you. It's where I do a live consultation call that I did with Sarah Karsten. Thank you so much, Sarah, again, for allowing our listeners to listen in on our conversation and to your consultation call. I think it's so helpful for any teacher who wants to niche down and market their yoga. So if you are feeling like, I want to get more students who are the right fit for me signing up for my yoga offerings, this episode is for you. Sarah Karsten is a yoga teacher based out of Strathmore, Alberta, Canada. She discovered the transformative power of yoga about a decade ago when seeking a change and looking towards the world of fitness. Sarah is really passionate about creating a supportive community for individuals who are seeking pain relief, stress management, and overall well-being. Sarah uses the tools of yoga to encourage individuals to feel their best and move through life with ease. You'll hear Sarah talk about when she first turned to yoga, she was dealing with her own back pain, anxiety, and in her own words, an unhealthy relationship with her body. Sarah says that yoga helped her to find connection to herself. In today's consultation call, you get to listen to Sarah talk with me. And I just want to say, I certainly never have all of the answers for a yoga teacher when we work together in a consultation call. I have a lot of questions, and there are times when I'm pausing, and I like to really take the time. So it is not a rush thing when we do calls like this, and so it's kind of a long podcast episode. You might have to listen to it in a few sittings. You might even want to take notes if you're struggling to fill your own yoga classes, niche down, or market your offerings. I really wanted to work with Sarah in a way that we could uncover her niche, and we talk about her ideal working schedule And we even come up with a marketing outline based on the answers that she has for these questions. So if you're feeling like, how can I make this episode all about me? You can do that. Take the questions that I ask Sarah and maybe pause the podcast and journal about that, or think about your own answers without listening to Sarah's answers. Each person is going to have their own answers to these questions. And if you feel like, I can't do that, that's too much work, I just want to sign up for a consultation call, I will have some spots opening up this fall, and I will make sure to link to our consultation call page in the show notes. Or if you're looking for it, you can go over to the connectedyogateacher.com. In the search bar, you can put consultation, or you might find it in our menu somewhere. It's somewhere there. Alrighty, let's dive in and hear this call with Sarah. Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast, Sarah. It's so great to have you here today.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Tell me, so the questions that you submitted here are growing your email list, marketing your offerings, and niching down more. Is that still the same? Is that what I can help with the most today?
Yes, I think that's the same.
Okay, tell me also, like, if someone stops you on the street and asks you, what's the work that you do? Who do you do it for? What do you tell them right now?
So right now I am trying to define this better, but I do tell them I'm a yoga teacher for a small group, private, or online.
Okay.
And that's usually where I leave it.
Right. And so what's your teaching schedule like right now?
So right now I teach a lot of group classes at the moment. I have a few privates on the go. Being June, it is kind of winding down, but I do have a lot of group classes and it's quite busy, and I am wanting to change that.
Okay. What would be your ideal schedule of teaching?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like how many classes a week generally? Not that it has to be every week of the year, but generally in a week.
Yeah. Ideally, I have more private clients. I think that would be my ideal schedule. Um, but I love the group classes. Like I would still love to do 2 or 3 group classes a week, but I'd love to up my privates.
Okay. So I would say, like, put that somewhere where you can see it, where you have the numbers defined, like what you're going for. It's really handy to
Yes.
have that goal of like, I want to build up to have this many one-on-one sessions per week and this many group, just so that you can know when you're sort of getting close to that.
Mm-hmm.
Connected yoga teachers, if you are listening to this and wanting to set your own ideal weekly schedule, I did a whole podcast episode on this way back, episode 65. I'll make sure to link to it in the show notes. You don't have to go back and listen to it right now, but at some time, if you're like, gosh, I feel like I'm wasting my time, or I don't know what to do, I don't know how to focus my time, or I feel like something's off with my schedule, that's the episode to go and have a listen to next. Okay, now I think I'm going to start on the niching down, because marketing and growing your email list get a lot easier when you start niching down. Because when you told me that you do groups, private, and online, it doesn't trigger something in my brain to be like, oh, I know who can do that. Unless it's someone who said to me, I really want to go to a group class, or I really want to do online yoga, but see how that puts you in the mix with like every other yoga teacher that does group, online, one-on-one yoga. So what you want is there to be this like light bulb of, oh yeah, I know someone who could really benefit from that. And your niche it might not even be something that you really realize. Your students might already feel the way you teach yoga is something really unique. So let's dig into this a bit. Like, where were you thinking of going with niching?
So I guess I've kind of I do a lot of low back, hips, and hams. Like that's kind of where I'm interested in, and probably because that's how I found yoga.
Right.
was like through back pain.
Right.
So that's where I tend to like gear my classes towards. And those are the classes, like, even when I do group classes, like, if someone's like, can you teach a vinyasa flow fit? I'm like, no, it's not. That is
Okay.
not me. Like,
Right.
I cannot do
I
that.
love like low back, hips, and hamstrings. Like that covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Even in there's more room to niche down. But imagine if you said to someone like, I teach yoga to people who are having issues with their low back, their hips, or their hamstrings. Then I'm going to remember when someone says to me, oh my gosh, I'm having low back pain this week. I'll be like, oh, I know who you should meet up with.
Mhm.
Go to this yoga class. That's what you're going for with niche work. Even though there'll be lots of other things that you'll focus on, breath, down regulating the nervous system, like all kinds of other things are part of your yoga, I'm sure. And I love how you said that vinyasa flow is not your yoga. That's also part of
Not my jam.
niching of like, that's not me. Okay. What would it feel like then to walk around saying that?
Honestly, I think it would feel awkward at first, like
Okay.
to say something like that. Um, but I think it would. I mean, just in general, like, even when I first started teaching, I felt awkward to say I was a yoga teacher. Like, it felt awkward to be like, I teach yoga, and so that's already come easier. So I think it will get easier the more I talk about it.
So can you tell me what feels uncomfortable about it? And what brought that to mind with like saying, I teach yoga? Like, what do you think was the underlying feeling of being hesitant to say that?
I think it's like, I hate saying this, but it's almost like, I don't know if you've ever had this before, but maybe other teachers can relate. But it's like, you say you're a yoga teacher, and it's like, well, what else do you do? Like
Right.
I
Okay.
can't be just what you do, right? Like, I
Oh,
don't know. It sounds so silly to say it out loud, but like, it's just like, maybe there's like a, I don't know, I don't want to say like stigma, but it's like, there's no way you can make money doing that kind of thing,
right.
if
It's
that makes
not
sense,
really
right?
seen as a real career.
Yes. And I hate saying that, but
No,
that is
you can
like an
say it because we
internal.
all we all either bump into someone who's like, is that like that's what you do? Like we've had
Yeah.
that experience. That's why we feel that reluctance. Like, and we just want to tell someone like, oh, I work at a local restaurant. I don't
Yeah.
know. Nothing against people who work at restaurants. I used to do that work. It's not easy. But okay. Now, is it the same with the hips, hamstrings, and low back? Would it be the same awkward feeling if you're like, I'm a yoga teacher who helps people who are having low back, hips, and ham issues?
I mean, I think that would actually feel a bit more, like, now that I'm thinking about it, like more purposeful, I guess, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like more,
I'm I'm just listening. Like
yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to think as I speak, but I think it would feel more, um, it might actually feel better to say that, I guess.
okay. I just want to also um say that sometimes when we're niching down and like let's say that you decided this is your niche, you're focusing on these three kind of main topics in the body. There can be a moment where you feel like, wait a minute though, I'm not the expert in all of these things. Like I'm learning from all kinds of other people about these areas of the body. I just want to bring it in that we can niche down and not know everything there is. Like generally when we niche down, we do realize, wow, there's so much more that I could know about this topic.
Oh,
So,
that's totally it. It's kind of that like imposter syndrome. Like,
right.
am I the
So,
best person for this?
right. You're the best person if you're passionate about it, like, if you're really excited about it. You already said that that's what brought you to yoga, so you already have a story to go along with it of, like, you have felt the difference in your body. Um, and a really good niche will, like, keep you going on the tough days where you're like, "Ooh, I just learned this cool thing, and now I wanna share it with people." So, what if you tried that niche on for a short amount of time? What would that Are there any roadblocks that come up or anything that makes you think, "Oh, maybe not?"
No, I think that would be because I feel like I'm already like kind of there with the classes I teach. I just haven't like defined it or marketed it the right way, I guess. That's how I feel. It's more just defining it and like believing it almost.
Right. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're already teaching like that, basically, is what you're saying.
Mhm.
Believing it. What what do you think is going on with, like, I don't know if I believe that that's what I'm doing. Like, you're already teaching it.
Like more I think it's like a confidence piece, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. That's really common. That's why I brought it up is let's say that let's pick on a different yoga teacher that is just made up. If there's a yoga teacher who says, like, I specialize in everything about the feet, guaranteed at some point in their path, they're going to, like, watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast or read a book on, like, the health of the feet and feel a bit overwhelmed and feel that imposter syndrome kick up. Or let's say they're putting a workshop together and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know anything. I would say, like, start from really baby steps with it. So, start from the story of how you were dealing with that area of the body and the things that you learned about your body as you started to go to yoga. And um and then I think there's a real so you had put, like, growing your email list and marketing your offerings, that this really ties in well. The reason why I'm saying is just try it on is because the other roadblock that comes up for people is like, I don't want to be known as that yoga teacher like my entire career. And that's okay. Like, I used to specialize in pre and postnatal yoga, and now it's pelvic health. So it works to transition. Um, and I'd say just try it with something. So let's go with it that it's that because you have that in your
Mhm. For sure,
mind.
yeah.
And let's think of some marketing that you could do with it then. So, like, your story, I feel like jotting this down in the chat. What are some things that come to mind when you think, okay, if I were to talk about the low back, the hips, and the hamstrings, what are some things that you kind of wish you knew, or some things that you're excited about learning more about, or you share with your students, or maybe a pose that brings that in?
Mhm. So typically I typically share how I found yoga because I feel like a lot of students will say like my doctor told me to come or my my physio does stuff like this, so I thought I'd try it. So I think sharing that piece, how I got there, and then if someone's looking for like a quick fix, I might try to share a couple poses if I think that will be helpful. Um, Sometimes I've chatted about like how like stress can impact back pain as well. That's another thing that I've looked into a bit more and has been quite interesting. So, um, yeah.
And what does your marketing look like now in terms of where are you putting out content right now?
So I do have a website and an email list that I do want to grow. I'm not great at growing it. Um, and I have like I'm pretty active on social media, but I have found I almost needed to take a bit of a step back from it because I found it a little bit overwhelming. So most of my clients have been coming from like word of mouth, networking, being more open about what I do. So I have kind of seen the benefits of that.
Yeah. So are those people in your local area then?
Yes, typically. Some of my online are a little further away, but not too far away.
Do you prefer to teach in person or online?
Honestly, I like both.
Okay.
I like doing online because I can teach to people. Like I've taught, family members who don't live close to me or friends that don't live close to me. So I think that's been really cool. And you can connect with more people, but I do like the connection of the in-person class as well.
Okay.
I don't think I have a preference.
Because if you said to me, "Oh, I really love teaching," well, I think your homework's going to be both then. Like for the in-person stuff, you really are way better off if you can, let's say, go talk to like your local Rotary group or the Chamber of Commerce or like some, I don't know, I was at I'm doing a hiking thing and people are asking about yoga and Sean and I are now doing like a little yoga stretch at the beginning of our hike. So people are learning quickly just from meeting up with us and then asking, "Hey, what is it that you do?" So any of that in-person networking will get you way further ahead than something that's online, like an email or social media, just because you're there and people can see if they
Mm-hmm.
feel that connection with you. Um,
Oh, and sorry, can I
no, go
say
ahead.
one thing I thought of? I guess with the like in person, like networking and stuff, again, I've gotten better at it, but I never wanted to sound too pushy, I guess. Like I never wanted to sound like you have to come to my classes or you have to like, and so I think I was always afraid to sound that way, that I would like not, when it's like I truly believe everyone can benefit from yoga.
Right. Right.
Like I really believe that.
What if you are offering a really specific workshop or class where uh you're very focused on, okay, people who are dealing with hip pain or people who are dealing with hamstrings that are really holding a lot of tension or low back pain. Like the moment you say that, if you said, "I'm a yoga teacher who helps with these three things," someone's going to be like, "Oh my gosh, maybe you can help me then because I really feel like back pain when I'm lifting my kids or something." I think it's going to open up the networking where you're not just like, "Come to my class." I get it.
Yes.
I think there's a flip of really seeing the value in what you're sharing. You know that anyone can benefit from doing yoga. And then seeing it more as like like a real career. That's a huge thing. It might be a little mindset thing going on because let's say a massage therapist introduces themselves and you're like, "Oh, what do you do?" "I'm a massage therapist." "Oh, where's your office?" And they're telling you where their office is and you're not feeling like, "Oh, they're trying to get me," like they don't have their appointment book out or something. It's totally in your court then if you think, "Oh, I'd like to get a massage. I'm over near that part of town," or whatever. So, if you wanna hold on and do in-person classes, which I totally understand, if you wanna hold on to that as well, I would say, like, start to think, "How can I get connected with people in my area?" Do you have some ideas of, like, groups or, um like, lots of groups are looking for guest speakers. You likely wouldn't get paid for it, but I know even our Rotary group, I think they get a guest speaker every month.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would have to look more into it for sure about some of the groups I have um here. But yeah, and if I don't get paid for it, the idea is it leads to something, right?
Right. It's a marketing thing then.
Yeah.
Maybe there's is there a physio in your area that you refer people to?
Yeah, physio and massage too, actually. The massage therapist I go to, she has like my cards and like a little brochure and stuff, so that she kind of refers people to me, which um, has been helpful. But she's kind of the only one that I've done that with. But like a physio or even chiro would probably be a good one to go
Yeah.
to as well.
Yeah.
And do the
And
same
especially
thing.
now to let them know, hey, these are the types of people that I really want to work with. These are the 3 issues that I want to help people with. This is what I'm passionate about. And, to have their cards to refer people to. You might even look at, if you know a massage therapist well that's already referring people to you, maybe you two can do like a little workshop where you talk about here's if you have low back pain, here are some like self
Mhm.
massage techniques, some things that might be going on, and here's some yoga, like an information night. And you could charge for that or not. Totally up to you if but yeah, those are the ways, like, really think of how can I get in front of new people in my community for those people, the in-person people.
Right.
Do you have it set up on your website where someone can book a one-on-one series? I had opened your website. Like a one-on-one.
I do. I
Okay.
think it could be less confusing probably, but
I see you use OfferingTree. That's exciting. Okay.
yes, I love it.
Connected yoga teachers, this is the perfect time to jump in for a moment to tell you about OfferingTree, in case you haven't heard me talking about this software that I use and love. I often am talking about this software to yoga teachers and studios because it just makes life easier. And we all deserve that as entrepreneurs. Do you need a website that's simple where you don't have to update plugins and themes or do anything with code? Do you want to build an online video library for your classes, workshops, or trainings? Do you want to easily take payments online when students sign up for your offerings? Are you wanting something that simplifies Zoom links, email reminders, and time zones? All of this is part of OfferingTree. It's seriously the best all-in-one software that I know of for yoga teachers and studios, and it is the most reasonably priced one out there. Trust me, I do a lot of shopping and I look at what are the bells and whistles and features that I really need and what's it going to cost. The best news is that we have a little savings for you if you are a podcast listener, which you are. So make sure to go over to offeringtree.com/Shannon to get that discount just for our podcast listeners. Again, that's offeringtree.com/Shannon. Also, if you have questions about OfferingTree, check out their amazing Facebook group. Search for OfferingTree, all one word, user group on Facebook. I'll also link to it in the show notes. Alrighty, let's get back into our conversation with Sarah. Well, this is great. Like I could find it easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I went to your website, then I can see like private and small group yoga. I could book it. Okay, that's great because sometimes people don't even have it where it's set up. That way you could give your card. Someone's like, oh my gosh, I have low back pain. I need to book a session with you. You just want to be ready to go. And then you have a space where you can host one-on-one yoga.
Yeah. So I'm all set up to host online, but then I also have created like a small space in my basement. So I could, I've had 4 comfortably down there. I
Okay.
could maybe do 6, but it would be pretty cozy.
Right. Okay. So it's small boutique group
Yeah.
classes. All right. So let's now start to look at, I don't know. You said that you got tired of Instagram. Your
I
Instagram looks really pretty. Like you,
I know, and I think I just got maybe because I wasn't seeing the
return?
Yeah, like I know it takes a long time, but it was just like I felt like I was putting so much effort into it.
That is what I also find with Instagram. Like, I realize it's like there's lots of people that say that's where your yoga students are hanging out, and it really depends on the demographic. If your yoga
Mhm.
students are, 50, 60 plus, like we're doing this, like I said, this hiking thing, and I'd say the average age is like 65 and older, and there are very few of them that are on Instagram. So if
Yeah,
that was my
exactly.
demographic, I would just not I'd go for Facebook if I was going to do a social media, or like only if you're trying to build something online. So I would say it's very clear now that who your audience is. Gear things specifically for those people. So let's imagine that someone every single day is waking up with like low back pain, hip pain, or tight hamstrings. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's affecting how they show up. We know that when we're in pain, then we get really overwhelmed with life. Like maybe they have loved ones who are counting on them and they can't do it. They feel like they're getting old and their body's falling apart. They can't do the activities that they want to be doing. So imagine that that's who you're serving. You're serving the people who are dealing, that's the problem. And so how can you give them small wins? One pose or one idea, and then say, "Oh, for more of this, like for a full class of this, come on to
Mhm.
my
Yeah,
join,"
my go-to is usually a cat cow because I
right?
love that pose.
Because that feels really
Uh,
good,
yeah, so that's usually my go-to, or
right?
I might recommend, again, depending on the ability of the person, but maybe like legs up the wall or a reclined pigeon is usually my go-to for what I find to be some of the more accessible poses.
Right. Now, the other thing with niche work and marketing is you're just going to keep saying the same thing over and over again. And that's the hardest part. Like you're telling me, okay, well, that person maybe should try cat cow. And you will probably need to then find different ways to be like, all right, let's get down on the floor and move a little bit. See, like bring that awareness in, see what's going on. Like just because you do cat cow once in a
Mhm.
video or in a post doesn't mean that you wouldn't return to it again and say, like, this is one of my go-to poses. Like you could change it. If let's say someone was feeling like a real tightness in their calf muscles, you could do like a foot flexion and release in that, or some kind of like you do cat cow, but then stretch out the leg back behind. Okay, here's another question. In terms of creating content, let's say you're growing your email list because that was on your list of questions. So let's say that's your main content that you're creating right now. Would you want to share like written word with a picture maybe of a yoga pose, or written word alone, or a video?
Um, Ideally, I send more videos,
Right.
but I haven't been. But I
Okay,
think
but you have done them before.
I have. And I think that's just me on the tech side needing to learn more about that. But ideally, I'd love to send like little snip, like here's a 5 minute wake up something, like wake up for your hips or something like that, right? Um,
And I'd say take that 5 minutes and break it down. Be like,
Even
pose
smaller.
one. So it's like a minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
people's attention span is very short. And then if they're like, "Oh, thank you. That's really helpful. Now come to my full class for it." Like, here's
Hmm.
where you can join me online. It's always going to be that callback. And that's how you start to see like the content that you put out there needs to lead back. I'm curious to see if I went to your Instagram, how many posts would lead me back to your studio? Well, that's pretty good. Like what catches my eye is it says what others say. So that's good. Like you have a testimonial talking about it. Oh yeah. Okay. So you're already doing that. That's good. Um how often would you put an email out, or how often are you emailing your list right now?
Right now.
Yeah.
I was more consistent with it. Right now, I'd say once a month I've gotten down to.
Okay. What would it feel like to email them once every 2 weeks or once every week?
It's definitely doable. I
Okay.
think I was, like I said, I think I was a little overwhelmed with the marketing, and maybe it did just feel like I was saying the same things over and over again.
Yep.
And I just couldn't think of anything else to say in a different way. I don't know.
Now, here's the way I'm visualizing it. And of course, like this is just an idea and you could make it your own in every single way, or you can tell me, no, I hate it. But let's say that your main content is on your email and you decide that you're going to put a video out as often as you can, which I think is really smart because people connect with you through video. They get to do some yoga with you, they get to try it out. Um, and like sometimes it might be like just your schedule for the week or something or for the month. So it may not be a video. But let's say one video is like cat cow when the low back is feeling tender. And it might be some modifications. Like you might be working with a yoga student that week who's like, cat cow is feeling like I'm worried to do it because of my low back. And so you create this video, you put it in your email, but you can put that same video on your Instagram or on your Facebook. Like eventually you can use that same content and that's fine. Like I know I know people, or like a YouTube channel or whatever. I know people say, "Oh, you should create content that's different in each spot." But you can make it a little bit different.
Right.
So when you did videos before, where did you record them?
I would just record them on Zoom and
Perfect.
then send them and then send them
Great.
out.
Because your sound on Zoom is fine. You said you have a yoga space in your house, so just like this sound is working. I don't know if you teach online, so you must have a good
I
mic.
do. I have a mic, so
Yeah.
I'm all set up for it.
Okay. So if you did it on Zoom and put that in an email, but make it really short, like I mean it, 1 minute. And you said you have a fairly decent email list, like you've grown it a little bit, right? Yes. So where did those people come from on your email list?
I found that they came from most of them, because I have like my freebie on my site, but I feel like I need to maybe change that up a little bit. Most of them I think come from um some of them come from there, but I would say more like the odd time I'll offer like a free class online, and I have found that that grows it quite a bit. And then will occasionally lead to like paying for the series or whatever I have to offer.
Okay. I'd keep an eye on that only because I know what it's like. We did your first class is free at a studio. And it felt like those people came for one class and then that was it. It was like we were attracting the wrong people. Um, but it sometimes can work. It can be like, oh, I tried this first class. I feel great. I'm going to return.
Mhm.
But I just keep an eye on those numbers. You can always try something like that. So the other thing that you'll do about your email is you're going to tell all of your Instagram followers, like in stories or in a post or whatever, hey, I just put out this video it's going out in my email list. Here's how to like send me your email and I'll send you the video kind of thing where you're telling them. And then same with, I don't know if you're on Facebook. Are you?
Yes, I have a Facebook. I'm not as active on it.
Every once in a while, I'd say do the same thing on Facebook. Like, hey friends, I have this video and it's just a 1-minute pose for low back pain. If you'd like it, send me a private message with your email and I'll make sure it gets to you. And be clear, like you'd be on my email list and I send out things that are for low back, hips, and hamstrings.
Right.
Now, what would it feel like? Because I don't want to give you something that feels like, oh, this is just too overwhelming. What would it feel like then to say, okay, I'm going to email once a week or once every 2 weeks at the very most? And even kind of maybe look at scheduling like 4 to 6 of those so that you don't have to think of a new thing every single week. You can kind of batch them together and do a couple at a time.
It sounds doable. I think for me, it's more like carving out the time to do it and like putting it on a schedule. And then it feels it actually feels quite simple because it'll be easier if I am more focused.
Right. It is, instead of just being like, oh gosh, I need to write an email to my list and what should I throw in there? Like, and then also encourage the people who are on your email list. Say, like, if you're having low back pain, hamstring stuff going on, or hip stuff going on, message me back and I'll try and create a video for you. Like, tell me what's going on with you and I'll try and, or maybe it's someone who comes to you at the end of class and says, oh, that really helped. Like, or, oh gosh, what should I do? Like at the beginning of class too. I can't bend over to like tie my shoes. Oh, use that. There was someone who was hiking with us and he like went to tie his shoes. And I mean, he hikes a lot. He looks like he should be mobile and able to tie his shoes, but it was a big deal to like get up and down from the ground to tie his shoes. And I was thinking, I wonder what that is. I wonder if his hamstrings are.
Yeah, for sure.
You could just use that as an example. Like, hey, if you're wanting to be able to bend over to tie your shoes or put your shoes on, here's, maybe for the next 3 videos, you're like, here are 3 poses that might help you with that.
Right.
So I would say sit down with like a pen and paper or whatever and just write down like all kinds of ideas. Maybe ask your friends and family on Facebook or on Instagram. Okay, say I'm creating some content that's all about yoga for these 3 issues that people have. Tell me what you've got. Tell me like how can I help you, kind of thing. You'll get ideas, and look at the words that they use as well. Like I do this with the podcast, with the Facebook group and emails that I get back from people. The questions just keep pouring in. Like once you say, I'm here to help you, and then and that's your focus, then you'll not be running out of ideas. That's for sure. Okay.
And
sorry.
I was just like one thing that, and you can do it on OfferingTree, but just to like organize my email list a bit better, like, because some is specifically for online people. I just have my emails going out to everyone, but I should really, I don't know if you can speak to this, but kind of organize where they came from or how to, like, there's some people who I know they're not interested in online, and I'll still send them like, oh, if you're interested in online.
Right. So there are tags in there. So if you know who your online people are, you can throw a tag in there and say like online. When you're sending out these videos though, the great thing is that can go out to online or in person.
Right.
And you can tell your in-person people about online classes. That's okay. Someone was just telling me last week that they signed up for yoga the teachers in their area, they're doing it online because it's easier, and they do it live and there's no replay. Like they're basically going to a live class, but it's online so they can do it in their pajamas,
Mm-hmm.
So there may be some crossover. Your online people might be like, I can't go to that workshop or whatever, but they might say to you, can you do that class online, or can we do one similar to that? So I'd say right now, don't complicate the email list.
Right.
So the other thing is to have that call to action, like your helpful video is there, and then you can, like, let's say your personal story. Here's what got me started doing yoga. And like, here's one of my favorite poses. There's a little video. And then you say, and did you know, like, you can sign up for one-on-one classes, group classes, online or in person? Here's how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do that call to action in every single email. But I would also say do it in quite a few. Like, they're opening your email, they're getting this cool thing, and then at the end, they can decide if they want more. And every once in a while, just do a call to action like, hey, I have, like, this series is starting. So it's only about a call to action. There's no video even. Like, let's say you have a group class and it's starting, or you have a spot open for one-on-one yoga. There's something else I was going to say. It'll come back. What was it? So, content time. So when on your calendar can you create this content? Do you have like a once a week spot where you can record your videos, write your emails?
Yes. Typically, I carve out Wednesday mornings. That's like my, I don't have any classes to teach. Typically it's Wednesday mornings is when I try to like sit down and write an email. But yeah, also a good time to like set up the video and do that too.
Okay. Batching is going to help so much. Like if you write write out some ideas for, let's say, you decide, okay, it's going to be all about cat cow today, and here are 3 things I kind of want to get across to people in this 1-minute video or 1 to 3 minute video. And you have it sort of written out and you know what you're doing for the next like 4 or 5 weeks, that'll make it so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you hit that point where you're like, oh gosh, it's Wednesday and I'm feeling so like, I don't want to do this, or not inspired to do it, you at least have something in the bank.
Yes.
And when you're doing those videos, you can do the video and then some people change their clothes. Some people don't. Some people are like, this is what you get. I'm going to wear the same outfit for the next 4 videos. I don't think anyone cares about that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Are there any things where you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, or like, maybe I'll wait until this thing in my life settles before I do it?
Not. I think it goes back to like the confidence piece, back to like fear of it not working out, or fear of it like putting something out there and but then again I've had that happen and still here, like nothing's
Yep. Me too.
nothing horrible happened, like
Right.
so I offered something and no one signed up. Well, okay, I'll try it again.
Yeah, no one's watching for that. Like, I thought you meant like put a piece of content out and then people start calling you on it and saying, that's this part of this is wrong or whatever. And that's a great place to learn. You know, I've put content out on the podcast and Like people have written me really well thought out emails to say, you have not thought about this aspect of things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're right. But that's not
Yeah.
a bad thing to like learn together. So no one knows all there is about the low back, hips, hamstring. I shared on my story. I don't know if you follow Maestro.
No.
They are a PT and they talk a lot about business and running a PT business. And one of the things was like, okay, someone needs to be focusing on like SI joint or hamstrings, or I forget what the other one was. Like that needs to be your niche because you will be so busy. And I shared it. People were like, oh, like that's a really good point. But it's true. Like if you were like, I'm just going to talk about hamstrings. I'm just going to geek out about hamstrings for like 6 months. It'd be amazing to see what would happen.
Oh, sorry, you were just frozen there for a second.
Did you hear what I said? Was it the sound
Nope.
as well? No?
Sorry. Okay, you're better now, but no, I missed that.
It's okay.
Sorry.
No, it's not. It's the internet. So I was talking about Maestro on Instagram and how they are a PT who like helps other PTs with business. And they said, like, some of you need to really pay attention and focus on hamstrings, SI joint, and there was something else. Because that's what hip flexors, because that's what people are so focused on. And they were saying, like, pick one and make that your niche. So if you were like, I'm going to talk about hamstrings for the next 6 months, you'd be amazed at like the difference that would make in where you go with your business.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Today's Wednesday. So next Wednesday, you could batch content in the morning.
Yes. That's the plan. Write it down.
And then I
like to check things off. So
yeah. Okay. And then, so the other thing I want you to do before Wednesday is kind of come up with a plan, like a rough outline of some content, even if it's just a list of content ideas. And if you get stuck, reach out to your Facebook people, your Instagram people, your email list. Like the first email might be, hey, everyone, I'm creating some stuff specifically for low back pain, hip pain, hamstring issues. What questions do you have about all of these? What are you feeling in your bodies that I could try and help with through some online videos?
I like that.
Yeah.
I've also found a lot more, as opposed to just the question box, like the yes or no, I have found that more helpful. A lot more people respond when it's like, oh, I just have to click buttons.
Right. It's very true. If you go to Google, like yoga hamstrings, you're going to come up with all kinds of things. And sometimes I use this to create content. So I was wondering, I was actually just thinking there's probably some really great articles on how yoga teachers can feel more confident out there. I just thought there'd be great articles. There are articles, but as I was reading through them, I was like, this is not, I don't think this is, now I don't want to say it's not helpful, but it's not what I would want. It wouldn't be helpful for me. And so I was like, I'm going to make this content. I'm going to make what I wish I had as a newer yoga teacher. And by reading the article, I was like actually getting a little bit ticked off at some of the things that some of them said. And then that would spark like my creativity in doing that. So same with like when people say they have hip pain, I like to really break it down, like the difference between pelvic girdle pain and hip pain. So we have a podcast on that. If you need the link, let me know. And then just use like a little piece of something. Like even defining where the hips are is a really great piece of content. Like some people think, okay, if I hold on to the top of my pelvis, then I've got my hands on my hips because that's what we're taught like in phys ed. But really your hip is like that, the femur into the socket, hip socket there. So all of that is content for people where they can start to learn about their body. Especially when you could look at just overall pain and pain science when it comes to that stuff. So the content will be no problem to come up with. Do not let the tech hold you back. Like, don't think, oh, I should have a better camera or just let that go.
Mm-hmm. And I've learned so much in the past couple of years.
Right. Good.
It gets easier. Just
yes.
Little steps.
You may also do I don't know if you teach a class and then you're all set up probably. You could even do it at the very end of your class or beginning of your class. Beginning might be stressful because you'll be like, I need to get this done before my class.
Yeah.
Any other questions or anything else that would help you as you do this?
Not that are coming to my mind right now. I think it is just carving out the time and trying to stay focused and not getting, because I think I just get overwhelmed and then it's like, well, that's that.
Right. Right. The part where you say, I get overwhelmed and then you just kind of push it aside. So do you need to make this income or is it really like a big desire? Okay, I need to make this income with my yoga business.
I wouldn't say need, but I would like to get there. Ideally I teach full time and that's my full time income.
Okay. So you have another income right now.
Right now I do work part time and then I teach.
Okay. So there's your motivation right there.
Mm-hmm.
I could have my own schedule and probably make more money eventually. I don't know if you listened to the episode with Betty Welsh on the podcast. She runs a studio out of her home.
I might have.
I don't know what her income was when we did the episode, but she was very open about it, how she set her classes up in her home studio. It's worth listening to. Mm-hmm. It's like how to make money as a yoga teacher. And we have a lot of yoga teachers in our small area where I live. And she's still turning people away. So she's got a small studio. I don't know if she can have 4, 5, or 6 people in her studio. It's quite small. And I feel like she makes like $800 a week or something. So
okay. That sounds familiar. I feel like but I should re-listen.
Yeah. Anytime you're like, oh, I have to do this video thing, go listen to that for a minute. Remember why you're doing it. Also remember that you're also doing it to help people. But
mm-hmm.
I know what it feels like to know there is this potential. I could grow my classes. I could grow my one-on-one classes and do more of those. And then you're like, I'll do it next week. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to build up your email list, see how that's working, send out these videos, post it once on Facebook and see what's the turnaround with that. Do I get some more people on my email list from posting on Facebook and telling people, okay, you can see this video, or Instagram, and then you just keep playing around with it. And it takes a lot of time. Do you know when you found out about the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast or group?
Actually, I think in my training, someone recommended it.
Okay.
So that was helpful in my yoga teacher training.
And then there's no wrong answer in this, but then, so someone told you about it. You went and checked out the podcast first or the group Facebook group?
Probably the podcast, I want to say.
And do you remember oh, this is one that I need to listen to? Do you remember what it was about or why you were thinking that you'd listen to it?
I don't remember.
Somehow you found it, but like I've been podcasting for 6 years, like every single week putting an episode out there. And at the beginning, like our Facebook group was like 40 teachers. I was like, hey, how is everyone? So I just want you to know that growth takes some time and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen quicker if you put videos out or if you meet people in person and kind of make that plan and stick with it, especially the niche. Like you've got a lot of strong things going for you that you already are like, I like this niche. I'm going to try it out. I've got an email thing. I know how to do video. Like you've got a lot of things going for you. It's okay, I'm going to stick with it. So would you be able to check in with me like sometime in July and let me know, okay, Shannon, I've got like 4 to 6 emails in the bank. I'm ready to like hit go on these. Like I have them ready, the drafts or whatever. Some people write their email drafts in like a Google Doc or something so that you can see, what did I say last week? What am I saying this week? And then some people will do like a quick draft, like you're writing to one friend. So that's a great thing to do. If you can think of one of your favorite yoga students who maybe has like low back pain or some mobility stuff or is tight in their body. And then imagine that you're creating this for them. That's who you're writing that email to. Oh, the other piece is to track like where your email list is now and to see, okay, how's this going? And you're going to get some unsubscribes because people will be like, I'm not interested in yoga. Fine. Like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And people are also just cleaning up their email list. So the more like when you start sending out emails, you might see some unsubscribes, but I'd keep a pulse on it and see, check in every week. Okay, how'd that email go? Can you track? Are you going to send it through OfferingTree?
Yeah, that's where I send emails.
Do you know if you can track opens or clicks with them?
You can track like if they've opened it, but not clicks.
Okay.
Unless it's a new feature, but as far as I know, just opens.
Okay. So watch for that for sure. Watch who's opening it. Watch the subject line of like what's getting people to open it. Yeah. And then maybe reach out to OfferingTree and say, hey, any chance that you'll put in there where I can see when people click? Because sometimes it's nice to know if they're clicking on something but not signing up.
Because they're always bringing in new features. I need to keep up with them.
I know. Don't hesitate to say like, hey, OfferingTree team, is this on the list of like email clicks? What email things are coming? I know that they just updated their email so you can make it look nicer.
Yeah, and I need to play around with it a bit more. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll be watching you. And I think we should put this on the podcast so that everyone else is like, how's Sarah doing?
Oh, great.
For accountability.
Yes. But
What do you
that's
think?
what I need, right? Because when you're working for yourself, you're like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Right. I wonder if anyone else is listening and they're like, I'm in the exact same spot as Sarah. If they are, then they can comment in the show notes or something if they're listening to this and let us know like, okay, I can be an accountability partner because I kind of have the same thing. I know my niche. I have a website, got an email list. I know how to do video. Just need to make it all happen now.
Yes, put it all together.
You can do it. And reach out to me if you get stuck somewhere. If you're like, this is the thing that's gotten me now.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome.
All right. Amazing. I can't wait to hear the update.
Yes. Accountability.
Thank you for saying yes to doing this and sharing it with our group.
Thank you, Shannon. This was awesome.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for allowing me to share this on the podcast, for even having this question of like, how do I niche down and market my yoga, for saying yes to this whole consultation call. It really means a lot to me, and I bet there are yoga teachers out there who had a listen and felt inspired after this and had some light bulb and aha moments because of it. So thank you so much. Connected Yoga Teacher listeners, I want to hear from you. If you had some question today, or if you felt like this really helped you in some way, can you please go and leave us a review for the podcast, or share your thoughts in our comment section on this exact podcast page. So that's over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/343. That's really nice if you want to have more of a conversation in there. And if you have questions beyond this episode today, if this episode didn't answer a question that you have, head on over to our Facebook group and join us over there. There's an amazing worldwide community of yoga teachers. And because we're worldwide, you can get your questions answered really quickly in there. I'll make sure to link to our Facebook group, or you can search Facebook for the Connected Yoga Teacher group. If you want to hang out in real time, I have some really cool things happening online that are coming up. These are all part of Pelvic Health Professionals. The first one that I want to tell you about is something that you can sign up on its own if you want to, or you can do it as part of Pelvic Health Professionals. So we have a yoga series with Sarah Karsten. It's a 7-week series, yoga for endometriosis and pelvic pain. It did start last Thursday if you're listening in real time, but not to worry, there are replays. So you can access this live all the way up until November the 2nd. And no matter what, no matter when you sign up, you will get access to all of the replay videos. So you might be listening to this way far in the future, and that's fine. Those replays will be there for you. I'll link to those in the show notes. Also inside of Pelvic Health Professionals, we are going to be talking about diastasis recti in October. We're going to be talking about stress, the nervous system, and the pelvic floor in November. We're going to be talking about pelvic health and cancer in December. And then in the new year, pelvic floor and how that connects with our feet. So come and hang out with some of the most amazing pelvic health experts. I'm so excited about this lineup. And if you want to see who's the next guest coming up, visit pelvichealthprofessionals.com. Thank you so much to our amazing team over here. Oh, I have to share that we had a request, Suzanne Crunch and Sinead, for all of you to share an update. So maybe we'll have to arrange that. It's been a while since we checked in with all of the team and got a hello, and people are asking how you're doing. And I want to tell all of our listeners, if you haven't heard me say already, Suzanne Crunch and Sinead make this podcast possible. And so do you, dear listener, for hanging out here all the way until the end in a super long episode where we really dug into some big questions. And the last question I want to share as we close this out together is, what will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?